Hello and welcome to another captaincy video from Fantasy Football Scout. It's a single game week finally. No more of the heartache of the last two game weeks with top captaincy options failing to deliver for many. Can we do any better in single game week 28? My name is Joe and joining me is David to look at the best armband options for normal game week 28. David, how are you?
Yeah, very good. Thanks. As you say, it's nice to be able to come into a game week and not feel the need to gratuitously captain someone who's playing twice, when most of the time they just let you down anyway, right? We've had some really disappointing double game weeks of late. Now we can afford to really just look at the fixtures in isolation in a way that kind of is definitely liberating based on the last few weeks in terms of how captaincy has gone, because a lot of us have made what felt like sensible captain decisions, and the 2020-21 season decided to be itself yet again. So hopefully, fingers crossed, maybe we might have better luck this time.
Yes, definitely. I mean, to timestamp this, we are recording this on Tuesday morning, so hopefully it'll go out at some point during Tuesday. So that's before Man City and Southampton's second matches. So there's a lot of people on De Bruyne, Gundogan, a hell of a lot of people on Gundogan, some Man City defenders, and perhaps, if they're a bit more maverick, a Southampton player who isn't Danny Ings, who is injured. So there could be some good captaincy hauls to come. But nevertheless, so far it's been disappointing. And of course, it was Harry Kane, who we should have all captained, but we didn't. Although some people did. Let's move on to game week 28. So with rotation, I think it's still going to mar City assets. Patchy form of Manchester United, I'm going to say here. Beat the champions and then failed to score against Palace. And then there's Liverpool. And I don't know if anyone's going to trust the Liverpool asset with the captaincy this week. So could it be time for Werner? And I say that loosely because I did say earlier in the season, Timo Werner could be back in our thoughts. Now Chelsea are against Leeds. So Werner and other Chelsea assets, I think, could be the strongest armband options in game week 28. What do you think?
Yeah, I think Chelsea as a team obviously are doing very well, and that's good. I think that the challenge comes in identifying which members of that team you can trust, because of course you can't captain a team, you can only captain a player. So I think personally myself, this is more about the fixture than necessarily the form of any individual. As in, that's I think why perhaps people are thinking about it. I mean, Leeds obviously, one clean sheet in the last four. Before that, they conceded four at Arsenal. This is a team that can concede because of the way they play. Chelsea are a team that probably can capitalise on that. Werner is still a big enigma for me this season, because he does get the chances. They do come his way. He's not exactly even necessarily a wayward shooter either. I mean, he is capable of putting it wide, but if we look at the last four matches in the Premier League, he's had 5 shots on target, which is the joint 4th highest. His accuracy rate is 62.5%. So the shots are going on target like a decent amount of time when you consider that Kane, his accuracy rate is 36.8. Bale's is 50%. Rashford's a bit higher, 83.3. But either way, the point is that Werner is very much in the top half for accuracy on these things. But, and it's a massive but, goal conversion rate is 0%. So the way that he's operating isn't leading to goals. Now, at some point, it should. He is definitely due, not just because he hasn't. Because some people say players are due because they haven't scored, but really a player is due when they're having shots, they're having big chances. He's had 3 big chances. They are on targets. Like I said, he's had 5 shots on target. Only about 5 players have had more than that in the last 4 matches. 62.5% accuracy, all good. So he is probably due. But the problem is something just has to change that goal conversion rate. Now, maybe Leeds is what will do it for him. But personally, because I always say, if there's something at the back of my mind that makes me go, but he needs to improve X, Y, or Z, then for me it's kind of a no, because I just don't trust him.
Do you know who I might trust? Mason Mount. And I actually think that Mason Mount could be the best captaincy shout this game week. It's because I think the fixture is very favourable, and I've got some stats up on the screen. which show the last 4 matches. And it shows in terms of expected goal involvement, Werner is expected to be involved in most goals, nearly 3, so definitely over 2. But he's only created 5 chances, and he's had 10 shots inside the box, not to be sniffed at, 6 of those on target. So you were talking there about his accuracy. But it's Mason Mount I'm most intrigued by. Tuchel is not afraid to rotate. He's just rotated Mount out, but he's rotating based on the fixture to come. Leeds are vulnerable at set pieces, and Mount is their set piece guy. He's also potentially still on penalties when Jorginho's not on the pitch. So over the last 4, Mount's created 13 chances, expected to have been involved in at least 2 goals. Had 6 shots inside the box, half of those on target. And this is most intriguing for me, 20 corners as well. So I just think, in terms of just boring getting points on the board, a couple of assists, some bonus, a clean sheet point, and suddenly you're looking at a double-digit haul, which he's got a couple of in his recent starts. So I actually think that he could be the best captaincy shout this week, more than Werner, who I don't, as you were saying, I don't fully trust. I think it's because we notice his misses more than his goals. When he scores, it's like, ooh. But when he misses, it's just like, oh, that's him. It's just always missing. Whereas with Mount, I think he'll start because I think this is a Mount type of fixture, because they need someone with that chance creation and that one who's very solid on taking corners. I don't know. It seems odd. He's a 7 million, but he probably shouldn't come into it. But what do you think, Mount? Am I being a bit weird there?
Well, I mean, if you're comparing him against Werner, then absolutely not, because I completely agree with you. If you're talking about reliability, you just Mount beats Werner, I think, in pretty much every category, because the set pieces is a big game changer, especially considering it's Leeds. But also, you back Mount to start the next game more than you probably would Werner as well, because he's obviously just been rested in the last one. So yeah, I don't think that's a weird thing to be considering at all. And I'm looking at a game week 30 wild card. Mount's massively on my radar because Chelsea's fixtures are good enough. So yeah. Don't think yourself weird to be considering Mason Mount. Absolutely not.
I'm not. So we'll discuss this further on the Scoutcast tonight. Do watch that. And I know that's something that I guess Ben Crabtree, who's in fact won FPL, will be keen to discuss, because he does own Mason Mount. Will he captain him? We'll find out tonight. Before we move on to some other teams, I just want to look at the latest defences. So the so-called whipping boys, who are this is last 4 matches, those that are conceding the most expected goals. So it's the ones we could see conceding goals, but also expected goals. So looking at Leeds in this, they're actually not too bad. They've conceded 4, and they were expected to concede 4, but they've only had 1 clean sheet. So I don't know now. Now I look at this, I wonder, will Leeds concede a lot? I just feel that the matchup of strong set piece takers and poor defending at set pieces could sway it. And once again, on the Scoutcast tonight, we're going to talk about that in a bit more detail. But Leeds are actually very poor at giving up chances at set pieces.
Well, in those last 4 matches, they conceded 19 chances from set plays, which is the second worst. So even though the XG is, as you say, I think the 7th best in the Premier League over that period, set pieces is an area where they drop right down the table.
Yeah. So that swings it back towards the likes of Mason Mount, perhaps Werner, if you go for price over points there. But looking out in the fixtures, as we can see, Chelsea, that juggernaut of their defence carries on. How I wish I'd got in Azpilicueta a few weeks back. I think the Chelsea defence is arguably quite a strong captaincy shout this week. So they've only conceded 1 goal the last 4, and they're only expected to concede barely 2. Over that time, so they're sort of on course there. But we can see that Sheffield United, Crystal Palace and Burnley amongst those that are shipping the most expected goals. And that brings us on to Everton, who I think Everton assets have actually very strong captaincy shouts this week. So Burnley, they're playing Burnley. Burnley can't seem to find a clean sheet against attacking sides, and Everton have been doing well in front of goal of late. Obviously, that fell short last night, but nevertheless, of late, they've been doing okay, especially with Richarlison. Now look, I've got some figures up on the screen. This is last 4 matches, and this shows that it's not Calvert-Lewin, it's Richarlison and Sigurdsson are the best bets for points hauls. But once again, am I being weird there, wanting to captain Richarlison or Sigurdsson?
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at that earlier because it's so annoying the way that Calvert-Lewin's position seems to have changed. He has been on more than one occasion used as, he's pushed him out wide to be a target man. I think it was the Southampton game where Southampton were playing with a back four that involved a large number of centre-backs. So they, at times, were playing with 3 of those centre-backs kind of spread out as a back 3. And he was telling Calvert-Lewin, this is Ancelotti, I mean, to go and stand on the right-hand side or rather Southampton's left-hand side, occupy Salisu, pull him out a little bit more, make some space for Richarlison. And that seems to have been borne out in the stats, unfortunately, because, in the last 4 matches, Richarlison, 16 penalty box touches to Calvert-Lewin's 11. 8 shots in the box for Richarlison, just 4 for Calvert-Lewin. 4 big chances for Richarlison, 2 for Calvert-Lewin, and 3 shots on target for Richarlison, 2 for Calvert-Lewin. Now, Richarlison has played slightly more minutes within that, about 60 more minutes, but even still, he is clearly the greater threat there, which is frustrating because right now, there's a lot of people who have Calvert-Lewin. Are they looking to another Everton player to replace him? Probably not. I'm not afraid of sideways moves. I've always found that a bit of a misnomer because actually, if the player you're getting rid of is not as good as the one you're signing, even if they play for the same team, it's a good move. But right now, do we really want to sign Everton players when we've got game week 29 to think about? So no. So it's annoying, but I still think Richarlison's a great shout. You've obviously mentioned Burnley's problems with clean sheets. They generally do. Burnley, it's quite rare, I think, that they are near the top end of XGC because of the way that they operate. They like to encourage lots of shots from distance, which tend to accumulate, so that they are never normally in the top half for XG. But it is quite rare, I think, to see them towards the bottom end. But the one key difference here that, again, I think just tips me over into thinking that Everton can win this quite handsomely is Nick Pope seems to have kind of like dropped off a cliff in terms of what he can contribute in these scenarios. Now, I often on these videos talk about expected goals prevented.
Yes.
And Pope was 2 weeks ago top of this metric for XG prevented. So obviously every shot that happens is given an XG rating, and those that go in are basically taken off. Goalkeepers XG prevented, but if they make a save, then the XG of that shot they get to they get to accumulate that over the course of the season. So if a goalkeeper's making lots of fantastic close range saves from high XG chances, then they get a decent XG prevented score. Pope was top of this metric 2 weeks ago. He's now 3rd, which doesn't really sound awful, as in this is for the whole season. Areola and Martinez are now above him. He's on plus 4.4, Martinez on plus 5, and Areola on plus 5.3. That's how many goals XG they have stopped their team conceding. But if you look at the last 4 matches, Pope is now in the bottom 6. His XG prevented for the last 4 matches is minus 1.50. So something's a bit off with him. We know he's a goalkeeper who's capable of making those outstanding saves.
He's costing them goals.
Exactly, yeah. Which, when previously, he's the reason why they've kept clean sheets. So then if their key, cornerstone of clean sheet potential, Nick Pope, is in this kind of form, then it makes you think that if they're going to carry on conceding chances at the same rate they did before, but their goalkeeper's not stopping them, then there's goals definitely on offer for Everton. So, to be honest, it's the kind of thing that makes me want to hold Calvert-Lewin. Yeah. It's just a shame that Richarlison looks at the moment best place to actually get the bigger haul.
Yeah, well, let's look at those stats again, just to lay them out just for the benefit of those listening on the podcast. Richarlison, as you mentioned, 8 shots inside the box. His expected goal involvement is getting on for 1.8 expected goal involvement over the last 4. And Calvert-Lewin is 0.91. So that's half. He's exactly half the man Richarlison is at the moment in terms of goal potential. I really wish I had Richarlison, and I would have strongly considered captaining him if I owned him. But as you said, we've got game week 29 coming where Everton blank. I, like many other people, own Calvert-Lewin. I'm not sure I want to make that move, but nevertheless, to do that move, I think I would be getting one of the stronger captaincy shouts this week. That's a decision. I know there's far braver managers. Well, almost all managers are braver than me, but there are braver managers who might consider that. if they don't feel comfortable with their other captaincy options. So let's move on, because there are caveats for all of them. City take on Fulham. That sounds good. No. Well, it would have sounded good at the beginning of the season. But unfortunately, this is unfortunate for City owners. Fulham's defence is looking rather good. City are still good, but they're looking a little less attacking, especially with De Bruyne back. But also, who is going to play? The rotation is rife. They're all fit. Annoyingly, even Nathan Ake is coming back from injury, so you can tell they're all fit then. So who is going to play? It's just so hard to pin it down. So I've got some more stats on the screen. Last 4 game weeks, expected goal involvement again. I've sorted this by, and it's saying that Jesus is the stronger one. He scored a couple of goals. Expected to have scored about 3. Sterling there. Expected goal involvement 2.49, and then Mahrez, and then you're moving down to Gundogan. Now Gundogan was top of this, and now he's moved down over the last few weeks. Coincidentally, De Bruyne is back, who is there himself. He's had 13 goal attempts and 15 chances, but no goals. So this is a tough one to pinpoint which City players to get and captain this week, because if he starts, Jesus could be the one, but then he's got the Fulham defence. I mean, you can see my turmoil. A City asset for the armband? What do you think?
Yeah, it's really tough. I mean, I feel really silly, but I actually I had Areola starting over Pope for game week 27, and I made a late call to not do that, and I rued the decision, because this Fulham defence is much improved. And to be fair, I know Liverpool haven't exactly been raining goals down on people. The result I still think is indicative of what Fulham are capable of. I mean, they really don't get beat heavily anymore. Just looking at their most recent results, they've obviously gone and won 1-0 at Liverpool. They only lost 1-0 to Spurs. They drew. They had a close 2-1 game with United. They lost 1-0 to Chelsea. They drew 1-1 with Spurs. They drew 1-1 with Liverpool in game week 12. They lost 2-0 at the Etihad in game week 11, but that was, if you remember, it's been a weird season, so people don't remember about that far. That was a game week when everyone was piling in on the City assets, and it was a really frustrating game because Fulham really frustrated Man City, and that Man City didn't take the chances that came their way. So that's always going to be at the back of my mind with this. And then when you just look at those last 4 matches, their XGC Fulham 4th highest in the league, or fourth lowest, or 4th best. They're not going to be afraid of setting up shop and sticking everyone behind the ball in a way that really counts. They've already, if they were looking at this block of fixtures of like, what points can we get from this? Because you're playing Spurs, Liverpool, Man City consecutively. Scott Parker would have probably looked at that and thought, if we get maybe 2 points from that, we'll be happy. They've already got 3, so they're already they must feel up on the deal for this period to go into this with no pressure and just sit there, everyone behind the ball. So then that's going to be massively there. So I'm not going to captain a City player for this game, because I just don't. Fulham are becoming almost like the new Burnley. That team that you can trust to frustrate.
They're big 6 kryptonite. That's what they are.
Exactly. And as you said, with the Man City assets themselves, I've got Sterling. I've been keeping hold of him because his XGI is decent, but it's just not really coming through. In the last 4 matches, I think it's Mahrez who has the most attacking returns. In the last 6, it's Jesus. But you don't I'm not going to break my team to bring in Mahrez and Jesus to captain them for a game against a team that I think will stay up now. So it's a no from me.
Right. Okay. Let's steam on through these premium assets that we're going to ignore. But my current basket now, I'm without a Chelsea asset. I'm without a credible Everton asset that I want to captain. So I'm actually looking at a North London derby. Now Harry Kane and Aubameyang are their main men here, but we've also now got Gareth Bale in the mix. Son, Lucas Moura could indeed get something, and you've got Saka. You've got lots of options here. I'm currently, I don't think he's the best captain this week, but in my team, Harry Kane is the best captain, I think, and so he's my current captain. What do you think? North London derby, tough one to call, or is it?
It's definitely tough to call what the result will be. I think that there will be goals because we've got 2 relatively in-form attackers or attacking array of talent. The problem is neither defence is necessarily what I would describe as in disarray.
No.
In the last four matches, Spurs are third best for XGC, and Arsenal are eighth. So a 0-0 is possible, I suppose, but normally these two teams hate each other enough to really go at each other.
Yeah.
And then when you consider the form that some of these guys are in statistically, there's a lot to like here. So last four matches, Kane is behind only Jesse Lingard for shots on target. And it's not like he's snatching at rubbish, because he's had four big chances, and only Sterling has had more big chances than Kane. Shots inside the box for Kane is 11, and only Callum Wilson is ahead on this, but obviously the filter I've got on his last four matches, so that includes his
last four matches they have played,
because if people don't know already, if you were to select the last 4 game weeks at the moment, because we've had a few people playing twice, it sort of skews the figures a little bit. So of fit players, Kane's had the most shots in the box of anyone. There's still a little bit of assist potential there, 2 big chances created. So he's got enough form to be backed in a fixture that he historically does quite well in. Also, on the flip side of that, to be honest, is Aubameyang. If we look at what he's offering, it's mostly expected goal involvement that I'm looking at here. He doesn't have he can never match Kane for volume of shots, because that's just not the type of player he is. But he likes to get on the end of the big chances, and obviously takes penalties too. So minutes per expected goal involvement in the last 4 matches, second is Aubameyang on 91.4. Yeah. His expected goals non-penalty is 1.99, which is in the top 6 over the same period. Although, just bringing it back round to Kane, top of minutes per expected goal involvement in the last 4 is Harry Kane.
Yeah.
And he is also top for expected goal non-penalty. So he's penalties are also available, but even if you take them away, he is still the form expected goals guy. So it's hard to really overlook him. I mean, I don't own him yet. I need to sort out my Kane in plan. It's worth saying that Gareth Bale is still not doing too bad. His expected goals non-penalty is the 5th best in the league over the same period. He's an easier buy for me as someone who still owns Salah and Sterling.
Yeah.
So if I do get Bale and not Kane, then I'll probably captain Bale, because the form he's in is great. Form for me normally trumps fixture if I have to choose one of the two. And bearing in mind the North London derby is always a heated and excited affair, I would be very surprised if we don't. It'll be very surprised if we end up with a 0-0.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I'm thinking of Kane there. If I was to remove Mohamed Salah, Aubameyang and Gareth Bale are top of my shopping list. And Aubameyang is captainable, I think. So the stats we got up on the screen, so you've talked a lot about the recent stats, expected stats there, the last 4. The ones I got up on the screen are some of those you've just mentioned, the big chances total. And that can show that, as you were saying, Kane had 4 big chances in the last 4. Aubameyang, 4 big chances in the last 4. Kane has had 21 goal attempts. There's that volume, 8 chances still, 3 goals. And Aubameyang is much more clinical. He's only had 10 goal attempts compared to Kane. That's only 4 big chances, 4 goals. There you go. It's accurate. Bale there, not to be sniffed at. 3 big chances, created 6 chances. I've seen a lot of descriptions of the way he is at the moment, and the way I think it was our colleague Neil was talking about how Gareth Bale is sort of chance creator 1 minute, and then suddenly he's in the box or he's on the edge of the box and shooting an absolute worldie in, and that's why he's world class and he's on top form at the moment. So you it's Bale time. 12 goal attempts.
It's like Salah used to be, isn't it? When you pay for a premium midfielder, that's what you want. Or like I still desperately miss having Eden Hazard in the Premier League. That guy that did exactly as you just described there. So now that Bale's on form that it looks like he's capable of sustaining, I think he's going to be in the captaincy conversation quite persistently between now and the end of the season. Yeah,
I think I'm pretty certain I'm going to get one of Bale or Aubameyang in this week at the expense of Salah, and I think they're both great shouts. But yeah, if you can see the stats there, I think North London derby, why not? Especially in a week like this where there's so many other assets have caveats. And there's another one, Fernandes. So a lot of people got rid of him last game week, and he promptly got in a double-digit haul because that's what he does. Got a penalty in. What puts me off is less him. I'm happy to captain him most weeks. It's just West Ham. West Ham is so good, and I just feel that the way West Ham is set up, I feel that Manchester United will struggle. They have tended to struggle against teams like West Ham this season. If they were playing a Leeds or something, I would be a bit more happy. But it's West Ham. So yeah, Manchester United are curious. As I said at the start, they struggled to break down Palace and then whoop Man City the next week. I mean, they're really hard to pin down, and that's not what we want for the captaincy. But nevertheless, Manchester United asset against West Ham, or indeed a West Ham asset against Manchester United for the armband.
Wow. I actually held Fernandes and was very happy to get the points. I got to be honest, I didn't see him coming. I just would rather roll a transfer. So I consider myself lucky that I felt the need to roll a transfer, because if I felt the need to make one, I probably would have moved him on. But yeah, that unpredictability is the key here. And you put that up against West Ham's defence, which last 4 matches, 5th best for XGC. They're not a team that are going to get... There was a time when we sort of saw West Ham as whipping boys, and they've demonstrated this season that they can still do damage against the big team. So yeah, on that, it's I can't captain Fernandes for this, and it's nice going into another game week, a second in a row, where knowing that owning Fernandes and not captaining him isn't going to cause me too many problems. His effective ownership in the top 10k this week was about 80%, which for him is like a whole new low. It's quite nice because he's worth holding, but not worth captaining for this. As for West Ham against Man United, possibly, I think they will suffer from the fact that Lingard can't play because obviously he's ineligible to face his parent club. And what a sensible... I mean, I don't know. I'm pretty sure that's the case with every loan deal at the moment, but Man United must be very happy that he's their player because, they're the only team he can't hurt.
They could do with Jesse Lingard themselves.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm actually happy for him, to be honest. I mean, it's a bit of a side note, but I mean, if you think about what he's had to put up with over the last few years, I mean, I thought he was one of England's best players at the World Cup, and then he hit a bad patch of form, and just simply because people seem to have an issue with what he does on social media and try and compare him to an era where, oh, by the way, just imagine if some of the big footballing names in the 60s had Instagram, you'd probably be thinking exactly the same thing about them.
Oh my God, George Best's Instagram account, X-rated.
Yeah, exactly. So I've always felt for Jesse Lingard, and I'm very happy that he's hitting a run of form again and proving people wrong. And to be honest, I mean, he's I think people maybe even start thinking about him in the captaincy, not maybe immediately because obviously he can't play this week. Game week 29 is against Arsenal, so I wouldn't do it then. But some of the fixtures West Ham have in the run-in, he looks quite nice for. Without Lingard, I mean, I think there was a little bit of a time when before he sort of started to get going, we had Antonio for a bit and he wasn't quite fit, and they didn't have that same energy going forward. So I think that I just I wouldn't captain Antonio, for example, in this game. And to be honest, like I own Shaw and Maguire. I'm pretty sure I'll start at least Shaw, maybe even Maguire, if they're facing a West Ham team without Lingard. So
yeah. I mean, the stats we got up on the screen. I've actually done last 4 game weeks. So we usually do last 4 matches, but I've done last 4 game weeks for this one because you can do that for players from the same team because obviously it all evens up. But you can see here that Fernandes has played. He's had 5 starts. So this is 5 games because of the double game week. It's included in this, but nevertheless he's had 2 big chances. So that's ordinarily okay. But for someone like Bruno Fernandes, 2 big chances across 5 matches. It's not the level that we want. The goal attempts, 8, 9 chances created. These are good. These are sort of 8 million midfielder good. They're not the absolute premium asset that you would captain at a home game against a team like West Ham on paper. And as we've said, West Ham actually defence is good. Without Jesse Lingard, will they actually become more defensive? And Fernandes is, he can get a penalty, he can get a double-digit haul from nothing. But that's what you're relying on here. And to be fair, it hasn't been a bad policy to rely on that. Also, his effective ownership is below that 100% finally, when taking into account the captaincy. So, there are big returns potentially for those that captain Fernandes. I think he's my vice captain at the moment. That's the way I see him at the moment. I don't mind the captaincy falling on him because he's quite reliable for that. But I feel uncomfortable just relying on penalties when I haven't got all those other metrics to go with. Just before we round off, look at the fixtures here. So, I mean, I think it's quite a good week to be different for the armband, but there are some others here. Let's have a look. Well, I say there are others here. I mean, these are the fixtures we haven't covered. Villa against Newcastle. Palace against West Brom. I laugh at that one. Southampton against Brighton. Another laughable one. Leicester against Sheffield United. And then Liverpool against Wolves. And this is where Liverpool are now. They're now in they're below laughable. So if captaining a Palace or West Brom player is laughable this week, Liverpool are below that. But yeah, I mean, I'm thinking of getting rid of Mo Salah. I mean, are we foolish to not even consider Liverpool assets for the captaincy?
I don't. Foolish is the wrong word. I think because because there is definitely reasons to look elsewhere. Definitely. As for the question of Salah, I mean, I'm not going to captain him, but am I going to move him on? I don't know. The Wolves game actually, I think, is an opportunity for them to get back on the horse because Wolves' defence has not really been that reliable compared to what we're used to with them.
Yeah.
Last 4 matches, their XGC is 7.36, fourth worst in the league. So there's a chance, there's an opportunity there for Liverpool to take advantage of a team that hasn't defended too well. Salah's own stats, like he's way below where we're expecting him to be, but he's still getting big chances. You know, he's got three big chances in the last 4, which is not awful. The problem is he's got 3 shots on target, so he's not putting these away. I wouldn't be shocked if this is a game where Liverpool get back to where we expect them to be, especially considering everyone's selling Salah. When we all saw what happened with Fernandes in the most recent game, we know that this is in Salah somewhere. I mean, yeah, I'm not going to captain him, but you know, the thing is, the problem is looking ahead to other captaincy videos we've got to do. You know, he will probably. I'll be so shocked if we're not talking about him in 3 or 4 weeks' time because Liverpool's fixtures between now and the end of the season are really nice. When you look at what they've got to do after 31, you know, they're playing Arsenal, Villa, Leeds, Newcastle, Man United. You know, that's a tough one, but Southampton, West Brom, Burnley, Crystal Palace. He is going to be in and around those captaincy videos we do, right? So moving him on right now, that's risky for me. And to be fair, I say this from a lucky position of if I need someone to throw into the fire to get myself Gareth Bale, I've got Raheem Sterling, who, let's be honest, like at least Salah's going to start, right? So yeah, that's my position on it.
Well, there's a couple of things to look at here. So defences, the last 4 expected goals conceded. Wolves actually the 4th worst. So he's expected to have conceded well over 7 goals. So yes, if Liverpool can find their form, then this could be lucrative. But the thing is, watching Liverpool, it's so frustrating. And there's something we're going to discuss in more detail on the Scoutcast. But one of the figures that I'll read out there, I might as well read it out now as well because I'm a journalist. So,
you have to now.
I can't keep secrets. So over the last 4 matches, there are 33 players that have had more shots on target than Salah, most expensive player in the game, that is. And there are 21 players that have a higher expected goal involvement than Salah. So that just shows you why people are getting rid of him, and that's why I'm considering it as well. It may punish me, though. It may punish me indeed. Before we go, just mention the members area of Fantasy Football Scout. We've drawn on lots of good stats there, expected goal involvement, your great goalkeeper ones as well. I do look forward to them every week. And also there's the Rate My Team tool and season ticket and all of those things, all the gadgets, bells and whistles there. So do have a look on site for that. But in the meantime, David, thanks so much for joining me, and good luck with your captaincy decision.
Cheers, thanks, Joe, and the same to you.